us coming forward and telling you guys why we are not Memphis Street Outlaws anymore. Now I'm gonna be very careful because I've been censored by my guys here because there's a lot of stuff that I would love to say. But they keep reminding me we're not those kind of people. So,
Alright, Dad.
it's mindset the Lord, I guess I'll leave it there. And we're gonna tell y'all why, exactly what happened on the street that night, because there's some rumors floating around and we're getting things about something on Reddit about how my thug son of 21 years old pointed a gun or pulled a gun. Never happened. He did not pull a gun on no one, nor did he shoot at no one. I wasn't there that night. I was home, got the phone call. My husband and son was there, along with another team member.
Where was you at?
They were out in Las Vegas filming Fastest in America 3. They had been out there for 2 weeks. My husband had been busting his butt for 2 weeks on JJ's cars, his car, everybody's car, because it's what my husband does. Which is why I get in my feels about all this, because what you people at home don't realize is I've been watching my son work my husband and sons work their asses off to help make this something to benefit everybody around us, not just one person, but this was a team effort, which is why my husband gave so much of himself to this. So yeah, I'm angry. You're right, I'm angry. And may have said some stuff that I shouldn't have. As a Christian, Lord forgive me, don't want to be that kind of reflection on my parents either. But, you know, when you see that kind of stuff, I take it personal because that's my husband of 25 years. I've seen the blood, sweat, tears that he's put into this. The love that he's had for his teammates. So yes, it has hurt my heart. It's hurt his heart. We have times where it really just sucks.
You'll let him talk for a minute?
Yes, that's why I'm fixing to let him talk. See, I told y'all I've been censored. But yeah, he's going to tell because he was there. I wasn't there.
Yeah. All right, Dad. So, talk about when you first started working on JJ's car so he could street race.
The very first time I met JJ, we was at our local drag strip, George Ray's drag strip. I was probably 15, 16-year-old. I'd been racing since I was about 13.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed up one day with a car and, of course, didn't know which way to go, right or left. So I kind of helped him out that day. You know, of course, I'd done everybody that way at the racetrack. If anybody had any problems, I always tried to help.
Yeah.
And he showed up, had all kind of problems.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, he showed up and had all kind of problems that day, so I tried to help him out, and that's where we started our friendship. Been several years ago. I'm 43 now, so it's been 30 years ago.
Yeah, now talk about how you started your business.
About probably when I was 25, 24, 25, 26-year-old, I started my own business. Basically working on general mechanic work for cars and working on hot rods on the side. Within about 5 to 6 years, it pretty much turned into just a hot rod shop. Build motors, build chassis, build transmissions, build rear ends, pretty much do it all. I had to learn how to do it all. I didn't have the money when I was a kid to pay anybody to do it, so I had to learn how to do it my way. Still don't have money. But that's the only way I could afford to race.
Yes, somebody does.
So that's kind of where I started. I started this business just to support my family, and pretty much I've always been at the racetrack, been around the racetrack, but I had to quit for a few years to get my business going, and it kicked off. It kicked off good for several years.
Yeah, what all? So you built motors, transmissions, rear ends, built chassis, everything, and wired cars, set up suspension, tuned cars. Even like old Bill Hoskinson from Street Race Channel, you pretty good with carburetors.
Yeah, I mean, I've done everything. I've built drag cars. I've helped build dirt cars. I've helped build mud racing vehicles, trucks, and just done a lot. Learned a lot over the years. Just steadily keep on going.
Yeah.
Doing what I do.
All right, now talk about when you first got introduced to JJ with Memphis Street Outlaws. What were you doing behind the scenes during the first season, and what led up to you being on the show?
Of course, I said it earlier, I worked on JJ stuff when I was younger. He quit racing a few years. I don't know if anybody knows that, but he quit racing for a few years for a certain reason.
Personal reason.
Once he come back around, it took me about a year and a half to start. He kept on asking me to work on his car, and I thought, nah, I got enough to do. And about a year and a half later, I went ahead and told him, yeah, I'd work on something, and I ended up back working on his stuff again. 10 years later, 10, 11 years later, and from that day on, he brought as much work as he could bring to me. It was a good deal. I mean, it was good. It was good for my business. But I also run a lot of customers off because I was catering to him quite a bit.
Yeah.
Putting him before people that I probably shouldn't have done.
Mm-hmm.
And this was even before the show. Then once the show started coming around, you know, I actually worked for 3 or 4 years before the show come around. I worked around the clock, hours out here, keeping his cars going so he could go street race. And I ain't gonna lie, I didn't go to a lot of it back in because I just didn't do a lot of illegal stuff. I had young kids. I just couldn't. I had a business, young kids. I couldn't afford to lose all that being on a street race that was illegal at the time.
But
So
did you race back then? Where did you start? You started bracket racing, right?
Yeah, I've raced since I was 13 years old. And I've index raced, I've bracket raced, and actually didn't start street racing until right before we got the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big adrenaline rush. First time I let off that button on the street, I was hooked in. I mean, it was fun then. I mean, it turned into something that wasn't very fun for me. But back then when we first started, it was fun.
And then in behind the scenes when JJ asked you to build a race car, talk about how that Nova behind you came to life.
Before we was kind of looking at maybe getting a show. JJ said we may be doing a show deal. And at the time, I really didn't even have a car. I told him, I said, man, I want to be a part of it. I just don't want to be the mechanic anymore. I want to be a part of the show.
Mm-hmm.
He said, we'll get you a car and we'll do it. Well, I actually already had this car, it just wasn't ready. I basically took this car and built it within 6 weeks. Actually missed most of the first season because I was building the car. Didn't have it ready in time to start. And took most of that season to get it built, and that's why I wasn't on most of the first season because I was building a car. But every night we was filming, I left straight here and went to the races and made sure JJ's stuff was working and doing like it should have been that every night before I got my car done.
Yeah, so just because you didn't have a car on the show doesn't mean you weren't there with JJ.
Yeah, when I didn't have a car on our show, I was still there working on his stuff, making sure the whole team's cars was doing what they should have been doing.
Right. So what all happened in that time period from now you've got your car built and you're out there racing it to now you have one of the baddest street race cars in the country?
Of course, when I was building a car, and I've built several in the past, I didn't know how well it was going to do, but I was doing my best in the shorter period of time I had to build a car. I'd done my best to fix this car where it would do good on the streets. I wasn't really even worried about the track anymore. I was worried about making this car going down any street I could make it go down.
Yeah.
That was our objective for the show.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that's the way it started out as a show. And as it progressed, I mean, I've changed a lot on the car since we started. I mean, at first it wasn't very fast. It was pretty quick for what it was. But we've made it a whole lot faster in the last 4 or 5 years since we've been doing this. And it's really made a name for itself. The car, I mean, the car does very well, and it's made a good name for itself, and makes me look good. A lot of times when I'm struggling and can't get the car to act right, it'll act right and make me look good.
Like in Kansas City when we went down there and had to race Ryan Mitchell in the finals and took that home.
Yeah, that night in Kansas City was, I almost give up that night, but I'm glad I didn't. The car showed out that night and done good.
It did real good. All right, now that we got that laid out, when did you officially shut down Smith Performance?
Basically when the show when JJ got so many cars, when we first started, JJ had 3 cars. Wasn't that bad to keep them going, and quite a few of my customers I had. But as it went on, he kept on buying more cars. A lot of people knows he bought several different cars and bought a whole fleet of cars, and I just couldn't keep him running and take care of my customers. And I felt in my heart I needed to take care of him because I thought at the time they was gonna take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was what was promised.
Yeah, a lot of promises, and it didn't happen. We was promised we were gonna make X amount of dollars. I even turned down $250,000 a year jobs.
Yep.
That would have been easier for me to get to lay back and maybe be a little easier on myself. Because JJ said don't do it because we're gonna make good money. We're gonna make good money. Well, that never happened. We never.
Well, it's happening. It's just not happening to everybody. It's only happening to one certain
It didn't
person.
happen to me.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't.
Which is cool.
And it's kind of hard to swallow, but we was told it was going to, so and at that time I thought, well, I can go ahead and just shut my business down and focus on JJ and my car and make us good for the show and make the money that we was promised to make. Well, I never got the money that I was promised.
You along with several others.
The whole team, I could tell a whole story about that. I'm not getting
That's
into,
not our business.
Yeah.
I'm not getting into names, but they all talked about the whole deal everywhere we went.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. All right. And then, so now in the mix of all this TV show stuff, JJ started doing his arm drop races.
Yep.
So the first one he had, I do believe, was in Newport. That was the original arm drop race.
Yep.
And during that deal, did you get paid any extra money to show up, race, anything? And then how much money were y'all racing for?
I don't remember that. I don't think it was as much then. I think maybe $5,000.
Right.
I think at Newport they was paying $5,000 at the time. It was his first arm drop. Did none of us win it?
Yeah.
If it did win, they won the money. Back then when we first started, whoever won the money.
Yeah.
I didn't get paid nothing. It cost me, which didn't cost me much. It was a local track, just to go, and I would have won anyway. But we didn't make no money. And JJ, I think, made pretty good. He made some good money. But he needed to. And everybody at the time was trying to push JJ and get this thing going.
Eventually it would pay off for everybody.
For everybody, and it ain't never done.
Hence the family behind Memphis Street Outlaws.
Exactly right.
From what me being where I was at, helping my dad doing the racing stuff and seeing how it all went, he put his heart and soul into it, and my mother did. Everybody in my family, we all jumped behind him, JJ, to make it what it was, and jumped behind my dad to become Hercules, the guy you see sitting here today. I remember years ago, back before all this started, we would just sit in the living room watching Street Outlaws. My dad worked on cars. We all raced. We would watch Street Outlaws and be like, man, that would be so cool to race on TV and everybody see what you do.
We never missed an episode.
Never missed an episode.
Never.
Mm-mm. And then when JJ got the call to race Big Chief, it was like, man, I get to go be a part of that. And now we're here where we are today. And amongst all the arm drops and all the traveling and all the TV show drama and everything that happened, overall, would you say it was a good experience?
Yeah, the experience was good. It just, a lot of stuff kept on building, a lot of resentment between everybody.
Yeah.
And over the years, it's just like anything else. Over the years, a group of people, you're going to have people come and go. But I hung on as long as I could because I was promised a lot and thought, well, maybe, if I hang on a little bit longer,
believe this a little bit longer,
and it'll help. But I figured out it wasn't going to help. That was always in the back of your mind everywhere you went and done for him. Went to a lot of arm drops. I figured up today. Last year, I was gone 126 days last year.
Traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Filming and all the arm drops, I was gone for 126 days last year.
Yeah.
And that was during COVID, so that was a lot less year than what we normally been doing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I went and done, and there was a lot of arm drops. I bet there was 7 or 8, maybe more arm drops. It was just JJ and me.
Mm-hmm.
With nobody
JJ's
else, the rest of the
hard.
team wouldn't show up. I mean, they just, because they was getting tired of not getting treated right.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, well, it's not that they have jobs. We have to
Yeah, I
work.
mean, that wasn't all of it. Like I said, some of them had jobs.
Despite what people
but it
think,
was-
TV
but it-
don't pay nothing.
Yeah, it don't pay what people think.
Well,
Don't
it pays, it
certain
pays the main star of the show.
Yeah.
Everybody else, it does not pay.
I'll say this, from my personal experiences and watching it all go down, the only way we were able to do what we was thanks to all these banners you see hanging in the background.
Yeah, the sponsors are what kept me going. I mean, there was
There was a
another
couple
time
times that he wanted to quit.
I
He's
wanted
like,
to quit,
I got too
and I
many people
just
on my
can't.
shoulders.
I got too many people that's relying on me. I got sponsors,
Fans.
Fans.
fans. I mean,
Little
I've
kids
met a
that look up
lot
to
of
you.
people. We talked about that today. The contacts that I've met, I'm glad I've done it, because there's contacts that. I mean, how many people can pick up the phone and call Pat Music?
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
I can probably, that's somebody I met, and it's a big deal to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was one of my childhood
Any of
heroes.
my sponsors, I got several contacts to all these sponsors. They take care of me. Pro Charger, Pro Torque, Rosler. I mean, Nitro Express. They've helped us out
Furo
tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
Furo, he's been good to us. Stainless Works. All these people have been excellent to us.
Right, and then
That's
not
what's kept me going. It ain't been the TV money.
not just alone the support, but the friendship, like with Wade
Yeah,
from Race Part Solutions.
I got Wade
you know?
from Race Part Solution. That dude's like a brother to me. I mean, I can call and talk crap to him all day long, and we just like we known each other all our life, and we hadn't. We've only known each other the last couple of years.
Right.
But it's.
But there's
I'm
also
glad
an
I done
ugly
it.
side to this because people that you thought were your brothers, you found out were truly not.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that anytime. Anytime you're around a group of people, you're gonna find out who's real and who ain't real.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yep.
It's just way. I mean, it's the way it's always been, and you ain't gonna fix it no matter what you try to do.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I try to fix everything, and it don't. Sometimes
Yeah.
it don't work. But
There's been this saying that goes around for a long time, and it kind of holds true. The good guys never win, and it kind of does hold true.
I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe if you do good in your life, you'll be rewarded at the
That's
end.
true. That is true. All right, now that we got that settled, what eventually led to your decision to depart from Memphis Street Outlaws?
What happened that night in Vegas if we wasn't there?
Well, this is my story, and I was there. My son was there, Brandon. Another team member was there, and there was a security guard on the road.
There's also sent video proof of stuff that,
Yeah, there's video of.
but we're not gonna go to that level.
Yeah, it ain't getting that way. But anyway, we went to the road because JJ calls, hey, I want to test. I need you to come out there and help me. So I went out there. I went out there, got on the road, on the film road, on our race
The
street.
night before filming, the first
Yeah, the
filming.
night before. And waited on JJ for about 30, 40 minutes. He said, man, I'm leaving, I'm headed that way. Well, 2 cars pull up, and didn't know who they was at first, so we kind of sat there a minute. Well, they got out of the car and they walked by, and it was one of them was a Texas guy, and one of them was
He's from Missouri.
another guy from Missouri, and or Kansas City or something other. But anyway, these 2 guys come up, and I called JJ. I said, hey, what you want me to do? There's people out here. He said, well, run them off. You know, I said, well, you get your security guard guy here ain't doing very good. He's sitting in the car. Anyway, we'd been talking to him a little bit too. And so I went and told them, I said, man, y'all got to go. And of course, they got mouthy with me, and I got mouthy back. And after I thought about it, I wish I'd never done it, but I did. I was kind of doing what I was told to do, trying to get them guys off the road because I thought JJ was headed out there, and he didn't want to. I guess he didn't want to test in front of them or whatever. So I finally got them to leave. And we sat there for another 30, 40 minutes again, and 2 trucks and trailers pulled up, an RV and a trailer and a truck and a trailer, about probably 200 or 300 feet from us, so we couldn't see who it was. I didn't recognize none of the vehicles. So I called JJ again. He said, well, go down there at the Love Station down at the end of the road, and this is a one-way in, one-way out road. So we went to set the loves. He said, well, go see if they're gonna leave. And, cause you would've seen them come out. Well, in the meantime, my son had got the security guard's phone number. He'd been talking to him for a while. We'd been there an hour and a half. And said, man, we're gonna go down to the station. Said, if you need any help or something, call me. And we'll come back. You know, we're just gonna go down there and set the station. Well, we sat there about 20 minutes, maybe 30, and Brandon called the security dude just to check on him because they had never come back out there yet. And the guy was he was worried. I don't know how you say it. He was getting harassed, and the guy, he said, man, these guys got guns out here. He didn't say they was pointing them at him or nothing, but they were threatening him with guns.
Well, they must have showed him if they
did. I didn't. The two guys at the time was threatening him or harassing him. So I said, well, we'll be down in a minute. So I called JJ again. I said, man, they're down there harassing the security guard, and he don't know who they are because he didn't know nobody. He was just doing a job. He was just doing a job, and so we get back in the truck and start heading back down the road, and I see the headlights coming, and I still want to see who it was because JJ he told me to go see who it was, and I probably, after I thought about it, I probably shouldn't have done it, but I kind of blocked the road. I didn't block it completely because the first vehicle went by, well, the second one didn't get by, and I found out who it was, and I told Brandon, I said, go see who's up in the motorhome, and so I can find out who it is so I can tell JJ. Mm-hmm. Because he's wanting to know who's harassing the security guard.
Right.
Well, I heard them mouthing a little bit up there, and the other guy that was with us, he heard it too, so he hollered at Brandon. He said, Brandon, get back here, your daddy needs your help. Because he heard something that I didn't really hear. And Brandon...
Threats, basically.
Yeah, threats that somebody he said, I got a gun, I'll blow your dang head off. He didn't...
Now, let's clear the air on that. Now, I don't like to throw anybody under the bus, but this guy deserves it.
Yeah, he does.
His name's Chris Barney.
Chris Barney.
He's a part of Team Texas. He drives the orange Mustang.
I agree. It was Chris Barney from Texas. Of course, y'all
he
seen
deserves his ass whooped, to be honest.
on the show. Y'all seen he started a lot of trouble, and
He done had it on the show once. Big Ricky knocked him out.
and it ain't on the show. It's been other times he's been at other races and caused a lot of problems. But that night he pulled a gun on my son
And shot.
after my son turned around, was
At
coming
my back.
back because he thought he had to come and help me, and he really didn't have to help me. Anyway, the other guy was trying to get him out of the situation, so he got Brandon to come back and was helping me because he heard the situation. And anyway, by the time he turned around and was cutting back, I heard gunshots. I seen the bullets hitting the road, hitting the asphalt. And I thought, really? And of course, then I'm ducking. I didn't know. And I look, and Brandon was high stepping around the
Stop, drop, and roll.
And Brandon did have a gun with him. He had a gun.
Because I knew they had a gun.
Because he knew they had a gun, because the security guard done told us.
And I have video evidence of said gun that they had before I even showed up on the scene.
Yeah, that's why he was carrying his gun, because he knew the guy had been threatened with a gun.
And I know how the guy that had the gun.
And of course, Chris,
Everybody does.
he's a sorry, low-down sucker, and when I see him, it ain't gonna be good.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
So,
That's the truth.
anyway, that's kind of what happened that night. Well, after that night
We
went
don't
on,
need no guns.
yeah, after that night went on, I went back to the room. I called JJ, and he said, well, I'm just going back to the house. I thought, really?
He didn't want to be seen.
He didn't want to be seen out there after all that done went on. I thought, really? After I done come out there to do all this, I could have been at home resting because we had to stay up all the next night and feed them. Well, the next morning I go to JJ's house. I done text Sam, the producer, and told him what had happened on my side of the story. Whether he believed it or whatever. I don't have no reason to lie. I ain't no lying person. I don't do a bunch of wrong stuff to go lie about. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I went to JJ's that morning, and Sam was there, and I said, JJ, what are we going to do about tonight? He said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, if Chris is there tonight, I'm probably going to end up in jail because I'm going to beat his face in for shooting at my son. Mm-hmm. That's just plain and simple.
Who wouldn't?
And, of course, then Brandon, he looked at Sam. He said, Sam, you don't need to go give him no heads up. Because I know for a fact, Sam has went and told other people's stuff in the past
So do we, to stir shit for TV.
to stir up stuff for TV.
This
I
is
do
it.
know that for a fact.
This includes No Prep King, Oklahoma,
Oh.
New Orleans. He's been like
Now,
that.
I ain't
for
saying he
a
would have done it that day, but I'm saying he has done it in the past.
Mhm.
I do know for a fact. So that's why Brandon told him that. Well, when Brandon told him that, Sam completely goes unglued on my son, screaming and hollering, cussing him.
I don't know who that is.
Now, keep in mind, this is a multi-millionaire that is supposed to be a role model.
The
you
role
know?
model, he's the one over the show. All the Street Outlaw shows.
Well, I wouldn't say role model of nothing.
Well,
Well, anyway,
But I would say
when that went
husband
on-
and father of 4.
yeah.
Or
as
3.
that went on, I just got mad, and I got mad at the situation. We done been there for 2 weeks. They never give us a contract. They told us to come out there, they'd have a contract ready the next day. We done been out there 2 weeks.
Unpaid.
No contract,
No
no
money.
pay.
Okay.
24 hours of driving just to get there
Yeah,
with a
24
trailer.
hours. Done been there for 2 weeks.
Spent
And
$5,300.
The whole
for
situation,
2
I just
weeks.
sat there and got
all the
mad. So I
receipts.
looked at JJ that day, and I looked dead at him. I said, buddy, I love you to death. I said, but I'm not dealing with this no more. See you later.
What was
So
what was said
then-
between Brandon and JJ that day?
I'm getting to
Yeah,
that.
that's next.
But when I told JJ that, he jumps up mad, and then he wants to whoop my son because he said, your son shouldn't have, he's wrong, he shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have said that to Sam. Sam is all Memphis. I said, well, whatever he is, I'm not dealing with it no more. Good luck.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brandon kind of seen he had maybe stepped on some toes. Then he started talking to JJ to maybe fix some problem, I guess, is what I was thinking. He looks at JJ and he said, JJ, you're going to side with Sam over what my dad has done for you? And I don't like cuss, I don't like swearing anything, but when JJ looked at me and he said, you goddamn right I am, that's all I need to hear. I got
Yeah.
my truck, I left, I come home the next morning.
So
I ain't
in
talked
other
to him
words,
since.
JJ sided with a man that he's known for maybe 2-3 years,
Well,
5,
but
8,
here's
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
Do you
Over-
not
a childhood friend.
look at me. Did you not expect him to? That's his meal ticket.
I was wanting to hear it. All I needed was to hear it.
Yeah,
And it put the icing on my cake to me to get home.
yeah.
I
We was
done.
already
I was done.
there was already a strain and a struggle, and it wasn't
It wasn't just that.
No.
But that's all I needed to hear
right.
for me to quit.
Yeah.
And I've done for that whole team. And I've done for people that was there, that there was
That stood
there was
there
some of
and
the
watched
team
the altercation happen
that
and
sat
didn't
there and
open their
watched the
mouth.
altercation, and which I don't blame them. I wouldn't have said a word either.
Well, we've been,
You know,
I
but
could go into something, but I won't.
I don't blame them for not saying nothing, but I
I
just
do.
want them, I hope they see where they stand, because I've done way more for that man
Than
than
they
anybody
ever
else on that
have.
team
Yeah.
or ever has.
Yeah.
So you're disposable team members, you're disposable.
I mean,
So
my
that's
dad.
my story. That's why I quit.
Right.
Now, another thing that needs to be addressed out there is there's comments saying that our son pulled a gun, so therefore Sam fired y'all.
Yeah, that don't happen.
Mm-mm,
No,
no.
nobody fired nobody.
Yeah.
Brandon didn't pull a gun first. Brandon did pull a gun after the guy shot and drove off.
Mm-hmm.
The thing was
But he
supposedly
didn't shoot
told
at him.
after
He
the
didn't shoot at
fact.
none of them. He shot up there. He did shoot a gun. He shot straight up there.
Because I
'Cause
knew,
he knew. Go ahead.
Because he
I
didn't
knew there was
shot.
other people in the RV that was,
Innocent.
so to say, innocent. They took a part in the harassment of the officer, the security officer, but so to say they were innocent. They didn't fire a gun at me. The driver, which I could not see, fired the gun at me. So I let him know that I had a gun also, and I shot to the side, which maybe wasn't the right thing to do.
Right.
But if you shoot at a guy's back,
He done turned around walking
Yeah.
to me when he shot at him.
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't even do it to my face like a man that he thinks he is.
Right.
But I guess when you talk to women like that
So
on national
if
TV
y'all-
as the previous season, you're not much of a man anyway.
If there's people think I done wrong or whatever, you go let your kids get shot at by a gun and see what you'll do.
Mm-hmm. After everything
After
you've done.
everything else. And there's more that's went on.
There's so
There's-
much more.
There's
But the thing is you and JJ have been friends for 30
Yeah.
years. That situation should have been handled way differently.
Yeah.
Mhm.
JJ should have said, all right, both of you both need to calm down
yeah,
right
he
now.
could
We
have
need
looked,
to
he
deal
could
with
looked and
this.
said, I ain't siding with nobody, but we need to fix
Yeah.
this. But no, he
Yeah,
looked
this
at
needs
me
to be
dead in the
fixed.
eye and told me he
You
was,
GD straight I am.
and that's all I need to hear.
Yep.
I knew right then he had my back no more.
Right.
He never had
Or
your
if we
back.
never had it.
I mean, at times I thought he did,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but
Yeah,
maybe
that's
not. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, it's.
There was a time in my life I think I could have called him and he would have done anything for me. I do believe that.
Oh, there was times when the Memphis Street Outlaws team was
But
the
I
strongest,
felt
closest group.
I felt I was doing the same for him.
Because I mean, like I'll say Kenneth Gooley, Mustang Mike, Jason Carpenter, Michael Dover. Y'all all have known each other your whole lives, and this was the Memphis Street Outlaws. There was no misfit team of people put together that had been traveling around the country trying to keep up with Street Outlaws. It was a group of guys that had been racing together from the time they were young enough to know what a carburetor was.
Yeah. Only outsider
some
was
of us.
Lee.
Yeah,
Lee wasn't
had
around.
raced all his life, but he kind of come in the group because when we started, like
Right. Mhm.
Good dude.
Dennis
I'll
Bailey,
take
he'd been
it from
racing
him.
around
NASCAR, and we needed him on the team because he won a lot of races.
Yeah.
John's been racing around Memphis.
Oh, for
his
years,
whole life.
years.
And me and Mike,
And him, I
I ain't gonna
they
lie,
got history. They used to not be able
we
to
raced
stand each
together when
other.
we was kids.
But I tell you what, they're full-fledged brothers now.
We brothers now, but I tell you what, he was Ford and I was Chevrolet, and if anybody knew anything back in the 90s, they didn't get along.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ford and Ford and
But
Ford.
we did. I mean, we talked, but I mean, we was always rivals. I mean, that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
And one thing that I will say is, which made it harder for us to leave.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's all been hard, but I got my business. I come home, I got my business back going. I'm struggling right now trying to get it going.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all can look around the shop, it's full. I got motors coming out my ears.
We consider every one of them family.
Yep, at one time they all was, I mean, it was my family. I was with them pretty much 24/7.
Yeah. I mean, nights out on the town, barbecues, hangouts, hotel stays. You're talking.
If we wasn't filming, we was out doing something.
Hanging out
and
and
hanging out and working on our cars or whatever had to be done.
It's just it's a bitter taste when somebody's been supposedly had your back and been there for you through it all to just turn around and up and leave and throw it away for something that he's not even sure of how it's going to play out. Yeah, it is for money more than anything.
I'm gonna say this too. I don't see myself as this super mechanic or whatever. But if anybody had problems on that team, they came to me.
Yeah.
And I helped them and usually fixed it.
Well, I will say this.
Made sure it got fixed so they could run that night. There was very few times we had to show up and not have cars running.
Yeah.
I made sure everything
And
was
why is
running.
that?
I made sure
One of us is
JJ's.
successful, we all will.
Hey, we gotta give credit where credit's due. Dad, you're a damn good mechanic.
Well, I don't look at it that way. I'm just doing a job. But I have pushed myself to make JJ's cars. His was number one priority to me for several years.
Yep.
And mine will be on the back burner because I made sure he was there, made sure all the cars was there that he had and he wanted running.
Mm-hmm.
And very few nights that I could probably count on one hand that he didn't have all his cars there because I didn't get them done.
And as a reference, how many of those races did he lose?
Not very
Not
many.
very many.
He's a pretty good racer. He's a pretty good nitrous tuner.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while, he was really working on trying to be a better guy.
Yeah, but
That's why we all
it
feel
fell
in line
apart.
with
It fell
JJ.
apart in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
Completely.
I mean, I'll say this, and I will go out and say this: if you go to a JJ's arm drop race and you've been to one 2 years ago, it's not what it used to be.
No.
The whole team was there. The family aspects died off. You're going to see now. If you go to an arm drop race, you're going to see JJ, and there might be another couple of guys that tag along if they have nothing else going on. That's kind of how it's turning out to be now.
Now, there's something I ain't said. I mean, I did have a business here, and I worked on JJ stuff, and I charged him for that. But I did not. I don't think I tried to
You
overcharge
discounted
him.
him for that.
I discounted him everything I could.
Because he was your
But
man.
I'm not making this out that I done all this for free for him because he did pay me,
Right.
and he kept for several years he kept my food on my table for my family.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I mean, I just want to put that out there because I don't want people saying, well, he paid you or whatever.
Yeah.
And he did pay me, and he paid me everything I asked him to pay me to work on cars.
Mm-hmm.
But I got promised a lot of stuff through the show
We all did. Everybody
that
did.
did not
Everybody's
happen.
family
That's
did.
where my problem is. It's the money coming from the show
It's just a lie.
that was promised.
Yeah.
And if I would've I told JJ, I said, if you get me enough money from that show, you won't have to worry about paying me to work on these cars. I'll work on these cars for free.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But I never got the money from the show.
Yeah, along with all the backstabbing and
yeah, right. And there's something else that needs to be said, because you're seeing things on our posts about how somebody's getting greedy. So one thing we need to address is, I'm seeing on our posts, which, mind you, some of the posts you see out there are posted by me, my husband, my two sons. We're all administrators of the Hercules page, as well as our own personal pages. Some of the things that I'm seeing on our posts are, looks to me like somebody's wanting more money and they're not getting it. I'm gonna tell y'all something first of all. These guys on this show, except for the family, the main family, which is Trisha, JJ, Precious, and now Chelsea. It was Double, but now it's Chelsea. Their money is the ones that goes up. They get a pay increase yearly. These guys have not even gotten a pay increase yet. They've been doing this for the same amount of money, which I'll tell you is $1,000 a show from jump. Okay, it's the same. It's never changed. I guarantee you the camp over there is 4, 5, 6, 7 times that amount of money. But this is not. It's not what this is not why we left. That's one of the reasons. Of course.
I don't care what they make. They just if you promise me something and it don't happen, that gets to you.
It does. After a while, sure it does.
Promise.
I mean, you can barely afford to keep your
And
own.
it wouldn't have took a
going.
lot. It wouldn't have took a lot to satisfy everybody.
No,
Just
that's
a little
what I
bit.
was gonna say. Because basically, when we started this, we sat down and said, okay, what is our goal? Okay, our goal coming out of this was to race comfortably, because that's what you love to do. You know,
Get out of some debt.
get out of a little bit of debt. I'm a dental assistant. I've been at my job. We're faithful people. We're loyal people. I've been at my job for 18 years. My husband's done this his whole life. I mean, we're not people that flop around. We have your back. We have your back. We're not out. I'm not trying to roll JJ over the bus. Yes, we're hurt. We're upset. Who wouldn't be? Both of my kids have been shit on. My husband has been used and abused so much I can't even
There's
tell
two
you.
different occasions JJ has threatened to whoop both my kids.
So,
And I'm saying they're my kids, but they're grown men. But I call them kids. They're my kids, but they're
but
grown men.
they're always gonna be our
It
kids.
don't matter how
But
they
the
are.
thing is you let greed get into something, as it did with other shows and other people in the past, and it ruins a good thing, because this could have been a good thing for so many people, so many good people, till it has now become something that's left a bitter taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Mhm.
It's sad. It's really sad. But as far as we addressed what was the straw that broke the camel's back, which was the situation with Brandon. My husband's a very easygoing guy. I believe if JJ would have said, y'all, let's sit down and figure this out, instead of jumping up, screaming, cussing at Brandon or anything, this would have ended differently. But it didn't. So God has a better plan. He knows better than I do. But 2 years ago, 3 years ago, most of y'all have met Austin. Most of y'all have never met Brandon. Austin went around with his daddy and helped his daddy do everything. He did social media, he did the Cold Heart Racing channel, which he still has, but the reason why Austin fell off from that, he can come over and get from out from behind the camera and tell you himself, but Austin, like his daddy, did a lot of work when this show first started. He got on the phone, he started calling people, he started pushing the show, pushing JJ to these big companies, these good companies. He got a lot of sponsorships that JJ never would have gotten on his own, because my son sat behind the phone or behind the computer and he did all the legwork. My son decided that he and his dad was going to do a race. Just a little race at a local track, which we're now following through on several years later. And they had a flyer made up. Well, they got a phone call saying you can't use that logo on the flyer because it insinuates that JJ will be there, which he won't be. So there's a problem. TV's got a problem with that. So he said, okay, well, we'll remove that. Whatever. We'll use the other, which is just hashtag street racer. We'll use that one. Well, JJ informed us, no, I don't think you can use that one either. Pilgrim owns that, and I think that's gonna be a problem too. And he said, well, I tell you what, we can't do anything outside of Pilgrim. We can't go make our own money, but yet Pilgrim doesn't wanna pay us. What are we supposed to do? And they had a few words there, and JJ's like, well, let me call Sam. So he calls Sam, blah, 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 calls Anthony back, tells Anthony, he's like, use it. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on with this track stuff that you don't realize. You gotta have
I remember his
insurance.
exact words was, use it, but take my name off of it.
Yeah, well, that's
I had to take his JJ the Boss signature off of the bottom per his request.
right. Which was not a problem, fine. You would think that you would want your guys to go out and prosper as well, because if they do better, their cars can do better, everybody can do better.
At the
wasn't
time of that, I
situation.
got really upset because I told JJ, I said, do you know how many events I've been to every one of your
Didn't
events?
make a dime, but went in the
I
hole.
didn't miss any of your events. I would kind of expect you to maybe show up and just
Yeah, that
show up
bothered
for a
me.
few hours at my event. And he said, no, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
That bothered me. That's when me and him started having differences that day.
Mm-hmm.
Because Anthony finally started seeing exactly where he fit in.
And then I'll say this: shortly after that, my YouTube channel kind of started taking off. I got up to almost 7,000 subscribers, and my videos were doing pretty good. And there was one video that I did put out, and some of you may have noticed. Dragzine did an article on it. It started catching headway. It had a lot of views. It was a video of me walking around the old heavy truck that had just been finished up with a new Pro Charge small block Chevy. Me having an obligation to the sponsors that helped build that truck, as in I got most of the sponsors. Pro Charger, that was my doing for the most part. A lot of the big guys like Rosler Transmission, I worked the deals to get the parts that were on that truck. And I was trying to put my end of the deal out there and advertise for the companies that I gave my word I could advertise for. With Hercules, with all of it. With that being said, there were some things I probably shouldn't have showed on the truck because JJ is a very secretive person when it comes to things like that. And when I was confronted about it, instead of me, he didn't confront me personally. He called my dad, threatening to kick my ass, threatening to cussing him out, all this over a YouTube video. And the main reason he had done it is because he thought I was going to make $20,000 on one video. It wasn't about what I was showing. It wasn't about it was about the money. And I was not going to make anywhere near $20,000 on a video. If you know anything about YouTube, you know what I'm saying. But that, along with the other situation with the race that we were putting on, it killed my motivation. It killed my desire to want to be around JJ. I didn't have anything for him at that point. I had done all I had done to help him and advance him, and he sees it as it was nothing. He could have done it on his own. That's his mindset. But all in all, I stepped back for a while, and I just needed a break from it, man. It got to me pretty good, and I've been racing since I was 7, 8 years old, and it's been my pride and joy, just like it was my dad's my whole life. And it was hard for me to step back and get away from something that I worked so hard to be a part of, and something that I've enjoyed my whole life. But ultimately, for me, it was it was a decision that I had to make, and in part, it was because of the way JJ had acted during that whole ordeal. But I'll let them get back to it.
So, you gotta understand, as a family, this has affected all of us. Because we are a family, a very close one. The situation with my oldest son happened first. That was, I don't know, 3 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah, about a year and a half, probably.
Almost a year
It was
ago.
before COVID
Was
was a
it?
year ago. And it was
No, it ain't been that long.
It was a COVID shut the race down.
Right, that was COVID that shut the race down, and it was in
Eventually,
that.
the race that JJ didn't want us to have got shut down because of COVID.
Yeah.
So we never had it, but we are working on it now.
Yeah, July 9th and 10th at Dyersburg Dragway.
Well, it's a sad, it's a bittersweet thing for me, and I take a lot of it personal. So when you people are out there, y'all saying, "Oh, she's spitting venom," or however you want to say it, or whatever you want to call it out there, which
They're just looking for money.
I really don't give a shit
Hey,
what you got to call it.
I ain't want no handout, but I do.
Never, ever have.
I do know from here on out, we're going to do what we can do to try to make money
Absolutely.
to fund our habits.
Mhm.
I mean, I got a car. Both my kids have got cars. I'm trying to get running.
But
Yeah.
they're-
We're going to go have some fun.
Yeah.
That's our plan.
Yeah.
y'all just keep watching. We're gonna put as many videos as we can. I gotta get somebody to show me how to do it, cause I can build all the race motors in the world, but I can't turn that camera on.
Oh, you can turn it on, you don't have to talk to it.
Yeah, so stay tuned for all that. I mean, as you guys know, that car back there is feared by many, and we don't plan on that changing anytime soon. So we're gonna try to take home all the small tire races we can. We're going to do some local stuff, some big tire stuff, whatever we can get invited to or be a part of, we're going to be there. I guess with that being said, that's about
I got
all.
one more thing I need to do.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, no, and with that being said, just so you guys know, my husband doesn't hate nobody.
Don't hate
I
nobody.
don't hate nobody. I wish this would have
But
ended
if somebody
differently.
wants this, it'll be for sale. Or I'll give it to you, probably. We're gonna go back to my
Sign it, do a
home.
giveaway.
We're just
We're
gonna go
going
back to
to
who we
Arkansas where we
always have
from,
been.
'cause we a bunch of country bunking rednecks. We're gonna put Arkansas back on.
All right, guys.
Anybody wants that? Like, share,
Well, you need to sign
smell,
it.
whatever you want to do. We're gonna sign it.
Subscribe,
give it away.
comment, all the above. All right, we thank y'all for your time, and here's the video you've all been asking for. So.
Till-